It's an expensive process, right? So if you look at some of the more, the more focused race teams that have access to like tracking systems and other things and a lot of really, really complex analytics, we use Race Chrono Pro. Every person that I put on the track cost me $25 because we want to make sure that we're able to give them data and help them get better, right? Because you can only go so far just hot lapping a track.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the ESK8 Chat podcast with Evolve.
Are we going to use the technology from what's on the Hayden series?
It's changing that whole final drive ratio.
Surfing this endless wave through Tokyo.
Electric skateboarding is like breaking through.
Every time I wanted to drink, I would step on this board.
Heard somebody say Hayden.
100%.
We'd love to build our own specialized ESK8 track. I mean, the amount of thought that went into that.
I want to talk about how it affected the riders.
So I went skating with Tony Hawk.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Really? There's a whole new product line.
I've done things I never thought I'd be able to do because of electric skateboarding.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the ESK8 Chat podcast, and it's another ESK8Con 1. We're doing a couple of them, and we got more people from the event, so bear with us. We've had a big couple days.
Oh, yeah.
We got Kyle from SDESK8. We'll get a little bit into that in a bit, and Jojo, one of our customer service extraordinaires, ran the event, set up the whole thing, looked beautiful. Why don't we start over here? Tell me a little bit about your bio, your ESK8 bio. Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, so I'm a community leader for San Diego Electric Skateboard. You've probably seen all the other names that are very, very similar in concept and ethos. So LA ESK8, LA PEV, Bay Skate, we were very lucky in that we had a large repertoire of other companies to kind of follow in their footsteps. We also just recently started our pro racing division. To the best of my knowledge, we are actually the very first community-led, community-funded racing org. So that's the other feather in my cap.
Well, lucky we just did a big old race.
Yeah, it would have been really awkward if we started an entire division and there were no races because Mike just went, "This is too much work," and I wouldn't really blame him.
Yes. How many people did you bring out to this one?
So for event attendees, I think we had 30 or 40, but as for the racing team, we were about a dozen strong.
Yeah, nice. And Jojo, why don't you tell us a bit of a rundown on what you did the last couple of days? Both work and community.
Oh, let's see. We got up at 5:30 Saturday morning after getting to bed at 12:30.
Rough.
Flew in after a full day of work on Friday, and set up the booth. Luckily, the weather was kind to us as far as wind and everything, and set up the booth. I got to place everything and put out all the clothes, and then, greet everybody at the tent, and I'm like fried. I'm not going to lie.
But you met a lot of people that you've been talking to online over the years.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Literally that is my, yes. So basically getting to meet all of the people that I've been talking to for years and messaging, DMing for years and liking their pictures and getting to meet them in person. Some of them from all the way across the globe was just unbelievable, and the feeling of being a part of something so big was, honestly, it just warmed my heart. Everybody was so kind, and after doing that podcast and basically knowing that my whole being was exposed and having just that reaction, just the kindness and so many hugs, and everybody was just amazing about it. But yeah, just getting to meet everybody that I've been talking to for years and see them shred with them. Yeah, definitely the highlight.
Yeah, sick. I'm just going to fix your mic a little bit.
It's just Is it like right in front of my face?
Yeah. So just, if you can hold it there a little bit.
Yeah, if it's lower, I can hold it. It was just that it was like,
up there,
it was
just,
uncomfortable.
Yeah, sick.
Okay, yeah. Definitely the highlight, getting to meet all these awesome people from all around the world, and it made the community feel huge and tiny all at once, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Did you experience the same thing?
Absolutely. There is there is nothing in this world that I have seen generate this much passion. I don't know what it is. Like, there's car people, there's motorcycle people, there's bike people, there's skateboard people. And to an extent, I've dabbled in every single one of those communities. I love each of those things. But there is so much incredible passion for electric skateboarding in a way that seems just really almost bizarre, right? Because it's not like it's not something that's existed forever. It's a very new and admittedly very niche hobby. But every time I talk to somebody at one of these events, every time I get the chance to meet someone who's engaged with the community, I'm always blown away by how much happiness and how much joy and enthusiasm and passion everyone brings to this sport. I mean, it's mind melting how much raw emotion goes into a convention. Like, I work in ITE. I go all the time for these conventions to anywhere you can think of, any city. They're boring, man. They're bland. They're awful. They're dull. Everyone looks like they've got a glaze over their eyes. And ESK8 is absolutely nothing like that. Everyone is just unfathomably happy to be present and part of it, and there's nothing in the world like it.
Yeah, cool. That was well said.
I
Jojo agrees.
Same Z's.
So I think like a big aspect for you is community. So
Yeah.
ESK8 aside, I guess the community building you've been doing over the last couple of years you've been a driving force behind it, and it takes someone with, I guess, a vision and a passion to bring that together. And you said you followed the footsteps of other groups, but that doesn't do the legwork, right? What's the process like of actually building a local community? I'm
going to be honest, it's hectic. Obviously, again, we were very lucky because there were all these incredible people and organizations that we could model what we were doing after. But at the end of the day, we didn't want to be another LA ESK8, another Bay Skate, another LA PEV. I mean, San Diego is a city unlike any other, and our community models that perfectly. There's so much variety in what people ride, what people do. And we started out as like a group of like, I don't know, 20 dudes in a Facebook Messenger chat, right? We were just meeting up and having fun. And actually, amusingly enough, do you know what the first thing we did that like properly took off and gave us some notoriety was? We came out to an Evolve event. It was an Evolve Super 73 event run out of a bike shop. I think you were actually there.
Oh,
that was the first time.
Globe, the world. What is it? World
The
Day
Earth
or-
Day.
Yeah,
Earth Day ride.
Yeah,
Super
yeah.
73.
It was incredible, and it was really interesting because one of my good friends and one of the other founding members, Sebastian, actually wrote an entire Verge article about it, about how just weird and strange our growth was. We were piggybacking off of all these rides, trying to like figure out what to do, and we wound up modeling a lot of our initial activities and rides and events after the Evolve rides that were done locally. The Mission Bay loop that you guys like built out, that we ran a couple times, we still do that loop. It's been almost 3 years, and it's still one of the favorites. And I think that's really one of the things that I love most about this community. It's that everybody comes together and builds it together. So while we may be SDESK8, right, we're drawing on the passion and work of so many other organizations and companies like Evolve, and there's so much community. Even in businesses, right? Normally you think of people as competitors. So Evolve makes electric skateboards. So does every other company in this industry. But I never get that sense of nastiness or just really vicious competition, because I feel like everybody comes together because they believe and love the sport.
Yeah, I believe we're like we are a niche. Like electric skateboarding
Yeah.
in general, it's a small community. So we're just trying to be like, don't care what you ride, like come out, because we can't afford to, you know.
Absolutely.
We want
The more the merrier.
it doesn't matter what's under your feet. And yeah, the group rides, once they start getting like a good amount of people, start becoming more fun. They start becoming more consistent. All those things become easier. You've done a bunch of the SD events.
I mean, I've done a little bit, not as much as I'd like, but yeah.
It's a long drive.
It is. And
Especially when you don't drive.
But you did the BMX one.
Yeah, that was so awesome.
Yeah, what was that like?
So doing the pump track.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty epic.
That was
So I
one of my
reached out
favorites.
to Kyle to see, like, you know, who might be interested, and yeah, we got together. We ended up getting to do a little race at the end. Pretty awesome.
I got crushed. I was actually borrowing Hamza's Hadian with the straps on it because I was so bad at getting around the pump track without having it glued to my feet.
What are you talking about? You did good.
I did much better after I got the handicap from Hamza. He was a really nice custom. That thing is gorgeous.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
Yeah, he's modded it.
Yeah, that was kind of one of the first events that I got to do, kind of as, you know, as the leader of the community, the Evolve community in the area. So that was pretty awesome, getting to see how you guys all came together to join us, and meeting everybody there was really fun.
Oh yeah.
But yes, yeah, I'm just having a hard time.
So, what does a typical like group situation look like? How frequent are they? How many people, and what do you actually do?
We try to make sure there are at least 2 a month. So obviously, you know, this is a community. None of us are getting paid for this. So there are times where we're not able to do as many as we'd like. 2 to 4 is kind of the sweet spot for us, where we're able to pull on people's time as volunteers and help them ride out and do
A week?
A week?
Is
A
that-
month.
you say a month?
2 to 4 a month.
Jeez, we have jobs.
Yeah,
You guys are doing. You have at least one admin doing.
So we
around a
have
week,
so
right?
we have track ride outs, which I don't necessarily count for the race team. But as for like group rides, this again, like I said, the sweet spot is 2 to 4, just because, you know, we have to make the flyer, we have to publicize it so everyone can come out. We have to make sure that, you know, we know the route. So like usually 3 to 5 days before we run a ride, all the admins will get together, and coordinating 6 schedules is a nightmare. That is my least favorite part of this, is the bureaucracy, and just run through the route, right? Make sure everything's safe. Make sure that everyone's able to have a good time, that we know if there are any problem spots. If there's somewhere where there are a lot of cars, we know that we know where that is and if we can block it. And usually everyone meets up. We all kind of hang out and talk for 30 minutes while everyone filters in. We hit a ride, and then honestly, my favorite part is after we do the official ride, there's always like 15 to 20 people that just haven't gotten enough, and all they want to do is ride more. And in a way, I think that's honestly kind of symbolic for the community as a whole. There is a lot going on in the space, right? There are things to do and things to enjoy, but there's so much passion and desire for more, and seeing the growth, not just of SDESK8, but of the industry as a whole. I remember the first time I got on a skateboard, like an electric skateboard, and rode it around, I think in like one day, 5 people were like, "Oh my God, is that a boosted board?" Mind you, boosted had been dead for like 2 years at this point. Nobody was riding boosted boards. But back then, that was kind of really the only game in town. And now it's exploded. And there's so much variety and so many different incredible products and experiences to be had. And I'm just really grateful to be a part of it.
You were telling me that you're doing like actual racing as well, right?
Yes.
So you have a race team of 12 riders, you said?
About 12. I think it's either 10 or 12.
Yeah. So what does a community-ran race team look like?
It looks like my personal bankruptcy, honestly. It's an expensive process, right? So if you look at some of the more focused race teams that have access to like tracking systems and other things, and a lot of really, really complex analytics, we use Race Chrono Pro. Every person that I put on the track costs me $25 because we want to make sure that we're able to give them data and help them get better, right? Because you can only go so far just hot lapping a track. So one of the first things we found out very early on is that most places are not super excited to have a bunch of e-skaters ripping through them at 45 miles an hour. And that was, they're not a huge fan of us. And it took us a long time to find a suitable lot where the owners were amenable. So that process took a lot of time and effort. Thankfully, not a lot of money. But the problem is once we found the lot, now we had to make sure that it was taken care of, that everything was cleaned off and resurfaced. I bought a $300 electric leaf blower. Do you know what that does to a person? I live in a condo. There are no leaves that need to be blown. Like, I went and I looked at my credit card statement, and I went, wow, this is terrible. I spent $200 in cones because in the first few months because everyone on our team was so awful that we just kept slamming into the cones and cutting them in half. I also bought slightly nicer cones.
Cheap cones will do
Nope,
that too.
they're terrible. And then, like, at one point, we had a terrible storm, right? So, I mean, it's been raining a ton.
It's been crazy.
And the lot was completely flooded with, like, sand and trash and all this nastiness. We literally had to go and find a portable street sweeper, like one of the handheld ones. Looks like one of those giant things like the janitors push down the high school halls and movies. Not sure if those are real, but I assume they are. I've never seen one in person. We literally just hauled off and pulled it up and down the track to clear all the debris. We brought out we went to Home Depot and bought giant shovels so that we could pull it out and put it in trash bags. The city of Carlsbad loves us. We are a little street cleaning crew now. It's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. Jojo was ripping around the track like faster than I expected you to go. I think you're a bit of a racer in your heart.
Faster than I expected. Huh?
Yeah, I was like not keeping up. Like, you were going super quick. I was filming you, and you'd come out of a line like around a corner, and I was filming, so I'd mess my line up, and I'm like, oh shit, she's gone.
Yeah,
Like,
I had the same thing. I tested out a board for one of the people. I'm like, oh, that's JoJo. Let me catch up to her and say hi. Nope, didn't work.
So-
You were killing it out there.
What's your future in racing going to look like?
I don't know, guys. But honestly, I told your girlfriend, I'm so sorry. Estelita, right?
Yeah, that's perfect, actually.
I forgot everything can be edited, so I can talk.
It's a podcast. We don't edit them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is actually live right now.
It's very live. Yeah.
100%.
We're on Facebook.
No, you're joking.
I really hope so.
Retake.
How about tell me that you're joking? Because I'm kind of scared now.
We're not live.
Okay, good. Okay, anyways, shut up.
Darren from
Darren,
the other room.
Darren.
Is there an outtakes reel that I can pay you to delete after these are made?
No, don't. No, that's the best stuff.
Keep it going. We're leaving it in.
Okay, so we're going to, what were we talking about? Oh, racing. Yeah.
Your future in racing. What's it going to look like?
Yeah, so I got off the track and I immediately went over to Diana and I was like, what have I been doing? Why have I not? Just so you know, I live like 3 blocks down from where you guys do
I knew you were close.
the training. So, and I've thought about it every Saturday, and it's like, yes, this is my passion, and yes, this is my personal favorite thing to do, and my stress reliever, and but it's also my work.
Mm-hmm.
So I think sometimes when it's on a Saturday morning, I think, oh, I don't know if I want to go into work mode, and I just realized, I'm like, why would I even look at it like that?
Yeah.
But I guess that's just the part of me that's like, working through all that anxiety and all of that stuff. So, but yeah, so I got off the track and I was like, I went to Diana and I'm like, dude, I am not missing another track day or another race day. Like, that is, you guys are going to keep doing it. Right?
Oh, yeah. No, we're not stopping.
Intro to Speed, right? Is that what it's called?
That's it. So, yeah.
I'm definitely going to have to check that out. But I think that I did a race once when we rented out K1. And I loved it. But I forgot how much I loved it, honestly, until I was on that track. And I know racing with people is a little bit different, but, dude, I am so competitive. Like, it's in my blood. So, yeah, I wanna get into it. And so I went to Diana and I was like, I want you to help train me because you're amazing.
We have been so lucky because, I mean, obviously skating does have a reputation as a bit of a boys' club. And it's been hard to kind of overcome that stigma as an organization. And we have been so blessed because Estelita and Diana are incredible. They both broke into sportsmen. Like, at the end of the day, I run an organization. When we're out there doing hot laps, I'm taking videos, I'm taking times, I'm doing all this work. I'm not that good of a racer. And I can comfortably say that that both of the ladies on the race team will stomp me out any day of the week. And that's what we want, right? Because this community can only grow if we make it accessible to people. And if we retain that kind of image of it as a boys club, we're isolating half the people who could potentially be coming out and discovering an amazing sport. And it's why I love seeing you come out and rep and seeing all that passion and happiness and just showing that everybody can be a part of this. It does not matter what you look like, what you ride, what you do for a living.
What your gender is, how much money you have.
It's perfect. Everybody who steps on a board falls in love. It's so amazing.
Speaking of accessibility, right? Because that was a bit of a topic going around at the race, because the high-end boards are crazy fast, right? So do you think the way that the categories were done and how that sort of all played out was sort of the way to go with the novices and the intermediates, or putting those two types of people on the track together in the first place, I felt might have been a little bit daunting?
It's interesting, right? Because you do have, I do not envy Mike and Mo and all the people who came together.
100%. We've run races and it's not an easy thing, and you're never going to get it right for everyone.
Yeah. I think the best way to do this is, and mind you, this is I am not someone who has run a race. I have barely managed to cobble together enough time and money to build a team. Is to understand going in that there is going to be a huge discrepancy between the people who have been doing this for 3 years and the people who have hit every intro event in their local area every weekend and have trained relentlessly, and the people who just think it's a really cool idea. They want to go out on a skateboard and go fast and have a bunch of cool pictures taken and see a checkered flag wave, and both of those people are equally important, because at the end of the day, this sport does not grow without people coming into it. And we need to provide structure and accessibility for the people who are going to be those pro racers one day.
Yeah, for sure. What else do you want to talk about, Jojo?
Yeah, so I think that one of the things about, like you were mentioning, that it's difficult to, you have a limited amount of time and you do what you can to get all of the different categories filled. But I know there wasn't many girls there, but I was a little disappointed to see that there wasn't a women's.
I pushed so hard for that.
Yeah, and so it's not just it's honestly not even about skill. I wouldn't say the idea of riding with guys is changes much. I've like getting to skate on that track with people, passing dudes and having them pass me. It's not about that. I think it's just when you're racing, when you're actually racing together, I think there is an understanding between women about our limits and I don't know. I just feel like it just makes so much sense to have us in our own class, just for us to have the opportunity to thrive more. But also just the competition between women is really fun too.
There's like definitely a handful of like really badass women that can ride really fast, but I think it's sort of fair to say that there's a lot of like girls getting into it that are very new to it. And so, sorry, the Australian Open that we did mid last year, it was the first time that we actually were able to run a women's category because there wasn't ever the numbers to do it. But now there is. Like, there's enough people that you could have done that. And I think it comes back to the accessibility thing. Like, we found at our events that, say, husband and wives or boyfriend, girlfriends, they would come, the husband would race, and the girlfriend was like, it's too intense, like, I'll watch. And we're like, how do we get the people watching who can ride and they can get around that track, like, and they could have fun doing it? How do we give them a space that they are able to get into it safely and in a manner that they want? And that's why we did the women's category.
Yeah. So very early on when we were starting the race team and I was talking to Mike about like his plans for ESK8, we had that discussion actually. I was really pushing for it because it's not just about making a place for for people to race and find like-minded people. It's also about showing the entire world. Because mind you, this was a globally broadcast event that, again, this sport is for everyone. And unfortunately, it was I think I was really pushing for it. It was cut for time. He was so interested and so excited about the idea, but I don't envy his team. The amount of work and effort they had just to get a handful of races in, it was a lot. And I've talked with him, and he says he's really going to try to and get there. Obviously, you can't guarantee anything.
I think we should just make it that it happens next year.
Yeah,
I think it, but he probably went through a similar thing that we went through, and I don't. Were you at the one last year?
So I did not get a chance to attend last year's ESK8Con.
I wasn't there, so I can't say for sure. But from what I saw, I don't know if there was any girls, and there definitely wasn't as many as there was this year. So basing off the back of that, he's like, it's going to be hard to schedule that in. Yeah. But now the concept's been proven that they are there.
Yeah,
I think it would probably make sense, and I'm sure if he was interested in the idea.
To be honest, with the thought of knowing that there is going to be an option for me to race next year against women, that makes me want to train this year. So the more people that know about it, that's like, if they know that they can have something to work towards. Because I'm not going to lie, like getting body slammed by Estelita versus getting body slammed by Kyle is going to be a lot better on the track.
I feel a little hurt that you don't want to be body slammed by me. I'll have you know, my body slams are amazing.
If they don't feel like a cloud, then I don't want to fucking know.
She is so fast, you will probably get hurt way worse. I am not fast.
I probably won't be that close to her then, so we're totally fine.
It's, that all works out. I'm just saying, if you join the race team, I think that would make us like 34% female. So come on, come hang out.
What does it take to join your race team?
So we're still working out a lot of the onboarding process. So what we decided very early on is we wanted it to be numbers based, right? We wanted to have actual metrics that determine not just whether or not you were able to join the team, but also we actually have two teams. One is very, very accessible. So we have kind of I have yet to figure out what the heck I'm going to call these, but we have our varsity and our junior varsity, right? Mm-hmm. And the entire goal of the junior varsity is to make it accessible, right? Because there are these classes like sportsmen and starters. I don't like the term novice. I'm going to use the AVS terminology. That are actually pretty accessible. Again, I'm not a fast racer. I made it to finals. There is a lot of room for people to get started in this, but the concept of it is so intense and scary sometimes that we wanted to kind of have a team that people can join. So what we're looking at is T-race times. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with it.
Yeah, David was out there. Did you meet him?
Yep, I did. Yeah. It was so cool. I've seen his Facebook posts for years. I'm going to be real with you. Not as much of an accent as I thought. So I don't know what I was thinking, because he's from Denmark, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what a Denmark accent sounds like, and I have now realized that after talking to him. But we want there to be a metric, and we want that metric to be aspirational, but also accessible. We want to make it so that if you come out and work with us consistently and train with us, you will make the team. And as you commit and grow with the team, you will move up into the pro class. There is so much talent and people who are so willing to educate. The entire Intro to Speed team up in LA came down and trained our racers. They drove down to work with us. And that's, again, another example of how passionate and collaborative the community is. Mario, Brandon, Fess, even Mo came out once. They are so passionate and they want people in this. And we can make racing for everybody. We just have to put in that effort. We have to really push the idea that anyone can race. This is a sport that welcomes everybody.
Okay, so I have one for you.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like you're very data-driven, right? And you're doing a lot in analytics, and I'm sure you're working on the fastest way to do things.
Yeah.
So you're familiar with the other Kyle that raced our Gremlin board?
Holy mother, I watched everyone fall off that thing. And then It took him a couple tries before he looked competent on it. I watched him blow it straight through the practice drift track and actually enter the track because it launched so hard. That thing is wild.
Yeah, it's a lot. And so he practiced yesterday on his Hadian, which is the regular carbon. The Gremlin's got a little bit more power than that one.
A little bit.
But I wasn't quite sure if we were going to race it or not. Like, we didn't come in the intention of racing it. The first lap he did was his qualifying heat. He didn't ride it on the track before he didn't go on the race. So how does that fit into your your methodology of practice? Because we didn't.
And one of the things that I was so impressed by was the track this year. It's really easy to make these big long straights that are super super gorgeous to watch on TV, and you hear everything's loud and everyone's hustling past. They didn't do that. They made it very skill driven. It was tight, technical, hairpin turns.
Yeah.
The better the rider you were. I was seeing one of my racers, Tucker. He went into pro class with a handmade rebuilt mountain board. He was riding against V5s. I think he placed like 7th in a class of people who are like downhill legends, like Rux, people who have crushed every race they've ever been in, like Morgan and Mario, and that is incredible to me that they were able to design this in a way that everybody could participate and perform at the highest level. Sportsman was incredibly diverse. I don't think anybody had the same board in there. Even there were a couple of guys who had like stooge builds, but that was their stuff. I want that to be every race. I mean, obviously there are safety and liability issues with making a straight that somebody can barrel a skateboard down at 60 miles an hour. But aside from that, just tightening it up and making it so that it rewards your performance, your skill, your ability to find a line.
The technical side of it was the funnest part about it.
It was so good. That double hairpin
Yeah.
killed every single practice run I did. I almost got it down in the qualifier, but it was fun, right? Because it's not about who's got the strongest gear. It's about who knows their gear, who can figure out the track and understand both their limits and their board's limits. And that's perfect. That's the way it should be every time. I don't ever want to be like, all right, so this track, you're going to have to spend $5,000 if you want to win. That's awful. And imagine telling that. One of the things we encountered very early is I have 2 extremely talented riders. Their names are Jonah and Cameron. It's just a thing of beauty to watch them ride. They just get on any board and they kill it. They're young. They don't have $5,000 in disposable income. Cameron actually came out to the event without a board. We had to shop around at the different vendors and be like, hey, this dude's really fast. Can he maybe whip that thing that's also really fast? He broke into, he just landed outside of pro class. He was 2 slots out on a board he'd never touched.
Well,
it was amazing.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool, and it was definitely that technical aspect of the track that let it happen.
Yeah.
I like the idea of having a track, like, you're never going to get consistency across every board. We've tried in the past to say, this board goes here, and then the voltage is, like, limited to here, but it doesn't really work. So the one thing you can control is the track, to a degree. So if you can make something where you can't reach X amount of speed, if a board can, it's not a massive benefit. Yeah. And then of course there's the torque and the cornering and all that sort of stuff. But the technical tracks seem to offer that, and there was good elements of that in this track.
One thing when you had mentioned about the classes, like, was there anything we had to say about that? I think that there might have been a general consensus that it might have been a little more motivating for people if there was a pro class involving basically the top 3 winners, but also like a lot of the people in that class, like he said, been racing for 3 years. They've been downhill skateboarding, and that should benefit them, and they should get to go against the majority. But I think really when you come down to it, the fastest times, probably, even if you just did like top 5 or I don't know. I feel like that experience level should be its own category, just for the sake of inclusivity, you know?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with what we did at the Australian Open? Because we completely threw away everything that we had done in the past to try and rethink these categories. And we had 3 categories. And it was pretty much built around inclusivity, because we know a lot of our community are guys that have to go to work on Monday morning and they're not going to hurt themselves. Yeah. So we did the women's class for the reasons I mentioned earlier. And then we split the 2 classes into pro and sport. So it's pretty much what they did, but we allowed the person to gauge how they felt about themselves and put themselves into a class. Pro had all the prize money. So if you wanted to go, we put up like $1,000 first prize and all sorts of stuff. And then the sports class was like more a social thing. It still was a race, and there was still the podium, and we still had smaller prizes, but it allowed people that would otherwise choose not to race, and it also gave them the safety of knowing that they're not going to be next to the guy that's trying to kill himself.
The guy that's trying to win that $2,000 prize.
And honestly, like it definitely, you could see it in like how it all went out. Like the only thing is you get a couple of the guys that should be in pro going down to the class below.
Just to hang out and slam around.
Just because they underestimate themselves. So we allow people to move around on the day or say, hey, you should probably go up.
That's cool.
And I love that because, not because I necessarily know if that's a better methodology, but because we're just figuring things out. That is honestly the most exciting part of this. There isn't a fixed answer. The entire community is trying to solve these problems together by trying out different stuff. And the honest answer is, I don't know. I don't know what the best way to do that is. And it's exciting because this whole world is growing. And we're going to figure it out together. There is no doubt in my mind that every single one of these events is going to be better than the last. And I don't see that stopping in the near future, if ever.
I 100% agree.
We are just getting
Oh, yeah.
And on that note, I think we can rest our tired brains.
My lips are so chapped. Holy cow, this hurts so much.
It is cold and it is dry in Vegas.
Oh, my God. I'm
like kind of blown away by how dry it is in Vegas.
What, dude?
It's the middle of the desert.
I mean, yeah,
No,
but
one of my favorite places to like backpack and go camping and stuff is Anza-Borrego Desert. It's literally, I'm used to knowing my limits when I'm exerting so much energy. I got wiped yesterday. Like, I feel, 10 million times better today, but wow, this weekend has been.
We were in the sun. We were working hard.
I budgeted $100 for drinks. We blew through that in the first half of the first day.
Yeah, right.
Everyone was so tired and thirsty.
Yeah.
And on that note, thanks guys for watching. We'll put all the links to your socials below so they can jump in and check out the group and any upcoming events and whatnot you got going on. And go give JoJo a follow as well. She's going to be a pro racer next year in the women's class of ESK8 Con 2024.
No doubt.